Hey, alright guys, welcome back. This is lesson 41. We're going to keep working on equations, except this time we're focused on area. So I'm going to give you these shapes and you're going to have to find the area of the figure. Alright, so let's get jumped into this one. If I need area, just like when we talked about perimeter, you need to know like just general information about that. When we talk about a rectangle, our area formula is length times width. You do need to know that, but it is on your formula sheet. On your formula sheet it says base times height, which is basically the same thing. It's particularly for a parallelogram, but a base and a height has to meet at a right angle, and for a rectangle it does. Alright, well, if I did that, I would be multiplying a base times a height or a length times a width, and I actually wouldn't get an answer for that because, I don't know if you noticed, there's x's here. So maybe I gotta figure out what x is first. Let's see if I can do that. If I do that, well, what do I know about x? Not too much. Here's an x, here's an x. But if you recall, we're talking about a rectangle. If this side is 6 inches, this side should also be 6 inches. And which also means that this side is equal to this side. Remember, we mark it like that. So this is 1 dash is equal to 1 dash, and this 2 dashes is equal to this 2 dashes. So I'm going to write an equation for that, just writing that these sides are equal. So I'm going to say the bottom side, x plus 5, is equal to the top side, which is 55 minus 9x. Alright. This I think we might be able to solve. Let's try it. Alright, so I'm noticing right away nothing to simplify on either side, but I'm noticing that I have split variables. I have variable on this side, I have variable on this side, so I got to get them together. So let's do that. Let's move, I'm going to move this guy over. And let's see what I end up with. I get 10x plus 5 equals 55. That's not too bad. And now I'm going to do, again, 2 steps. I can tell it's 2 steps because I have 2 numbers with my variable on the same side. I'm going to get rid of adding and subtracting first, doing its inverse operation. And then I'm going to undo this multiplying by dividing. And I get x equals 5. Still not done, but this will help. Alright, so let's look back here. If x is 5, this is really 5 plus 5. So this is telling me this is 10 inches. And if I did the same thing over here, 55 minus 9 times 5, 55 minus 9 times 5, I would also get 10. Go figure. Makes sense. They're equal. Alright, find the area. So the area now is length times width, which is 60. And again, if we haven't spoken about it, we label something. I know you might have learned in elementary school, it's great to label everything. We should label it all the time. You're going to lose points if you don't have a label. For a Regents exam, it's actually opposite. If you label it, let's say you see inches here and you're like, oh, it's 60 inches. That's actually an incorrect label. Area is measured in square inches, right? Look at our ceilings, you look at our floors, they're square tiles covering the floor, square tiles covering the ceiling. The area would actually be inches squared. But for the purposes of your Regents exam, you just don't label it at all. So the area is 60, put a box around it, call it a day. Alright, pause the video, copy this down if you haven't already, and we'll move on to the next problem. Alright, so model problem number 2. Again, we're being asked to find the area. And again, area of rectangles is just length times width. Alright, length times width. That's great, but I don't have numbers. I have number here, but I don't have a number here. So, looks like I'm going to have to figure this out. Now, in this case, last time the opposite sides were equal, so I set the 2 equations equal. But this expression is not going to be equal to this one because they're opposite sides. But I do know that this side equals this side. So I'm going to write an equation that represents that. Again, in a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. So I just wrote, right, an equation that represents that these opposite sides are equal to each other. Alright, well that's not too bad. I could solve that. Again, I can tell it's a two-step equation, and anytime you're looking at an equation, you should think about, what kind of equation it is, how many steps is it going to take me. I can tell it's two steps because I see multiplying, I see adding, and that's it. So I'm going to get rid of adding and subtracting first. If I have adding or if I have subtracting, I get rid of that first. Ooh, I'm going to end up with a negative number, negative 24. And that's multiplying. I'm going to get rid of it by dividing. And I get negative 4. Now you might have stopped and said, wait a minute, you can't have a negative side. Well, it's true, I can't have a negative side. But it's just telling me x is negative 4, not the whole side is negative 4. Alright, so again, why did I get this? Well, I have one side that I need. I have the length. I just need the width, which I don't have yet. So I'm going to use this to find my width. So I have negative 5x minus 1. That's what this side says. But now I know that x is negative 4. So instead of x, I'm going to substitute in negative 4. Put that whole thing in my calculator. That's positive 20 minus 1. I'm going to get 19. Hey, that's not a negative number. It's a positive number. Alright, so now this side is 19, which means this side is 19, which means this side is 21, and this side is 21. So now when I find the area, I have to find the length times the width, and I get, final answer, 399. Again, if you wanted to label it, you could, but I would highly recommend not doing it for Regents exams. Even for class, I'm not going to ask you to label. Be sure you have all this copied, and we're going to do some more problems just like this in class. Looking forward to seeing you soon.